Ukraine really hit Russia hard today by striking many of the Russian military facilities. Let's start from the military airfield of Borysaglebsk, Voronezh Oblast. Let's zoom into the place. As you can see, it's not that close to Ukrainian border. Here we go with the city of Borysaglebsk, and this is the military airfield. Well, at first I'm gonna show you the satellite images before and after. So this is before and this is after. Clearly you can see some of the traces. However, this image is not that good. I may say that there are two of the spots where the grass burned because of the fire, and 5 was caused by the drone strike of Ukraine. I'm sure that more detailed images will be provided. This one is a little blurred because of the cloud. You may see this cloud over here, so the weather wasn't the best for this space photograph. And here are some of the images filmed by the eyewitnesses. Definitely something was burning there. The fire was visible even from Borysaglebsk city, and it was tremendously huge. There were also the reports about the secondary detonation. It means that probably Ukraine hit the ammunition storage of the airfield. The NASA fire detection satellites also spotted the fire in the area of this airfield. So let's zoom to the possible fire spot. As you can see, Russia stores their Sukhoi 30 in this area at this part of the apron. And also if we look here, you may see the Sukhoi 34, which Russia uses to strike the Ukrainian positions using the aviation gliding bombs. And here's the place for Sukhoi 25 attack airplanes. Well, from the satellite images we understand that this area wasn't really hit. We're speaking about this one, but it is the most important part for the Russian army, because those aircraft are more versatile compared to Sukhoi 25 and able to carry lots of the payload with aviation bombs. There was also fire report in this area, and we know that Russian pilots live not far away from their military airfields in Borysaglebsk, for example, so maybe Ukraine hit some of the Russian army barracks. The qualified Russian pilots are sometimes even more important compared to the airplanes Russia is capable to produce. ChatGPT, please tell me how much does it cost to train the Russian military fighter pilot as average in the United States dollars, but give me a very short answer.
Around 3 to 5 million USD.
Just imagine this number, 3 up to $5 million. Russia could produce many tanks for that amount. If we compare it with the United States pilot training, well, as average, the pilot training in the United States costs much more because the program itself is bigger, longer, and more detailed. With lots of the flying hours, that's why American pilots are very capable. For me, it was the surprise seeing that the transition for F-35 fighter jet costs just a little less compared to the basic training on F-35. Interesting. So sometimes targeting the Russian barracks would cost Russia more compared to the loss of their airplanes. And actually they need more time to prepare their pilots to train them from the very beginning compared to making the airplane from the very beginning. Well, you see that Ukraine is once again crossing the Russian red lines with their useless nuclear doctrine that was introduced by Putin recently. And just a reminder, after a couple of days, Kremlin spokesman Peskov came out and said that Russia will not respond using nukes against the Ukrainian drone strike. So basically they gave the permission for Ukraine to freely use the drones elsewhere against the Russian military infrastructure. Great. And what is also interesting, guys, that the airfield is located quite far away from Ukrainian border. The distance is 365 kilometers to that spot. It means that standard ATACMS missile is unable to reach this airfield, even with a possible permission from the United States of America given to Ukraine to target the Russian military infrastructure using ATACMS. So Russians were very calm and I would say comfortable out there. They still store many of the airplanes, and now it was the kaboom. Let's see the outcome probably tomorrow with much better quality satellite images. As it was reported by the Ukrainian side for now that the ammunition warehouses were hit, also the parking spots for Sukhoi 35. They say Sukhoi 35, so I was wrong about Sukhoi Su-30, and Sukhoi 34, which is a fighter bomber. So Russia hasn't got any kind of the hangars out there, so nothing is used to protect those airplanes against the drone strikes, and a tiny little shrapnel, if it hits the right spot of the airplane, could disable it potentially. Also, it's reported that the fuel storage was hit, but definitely the confirmation comes in the coming hours or days. So we're gonna see the satellite images, but something tells me that definitely Russia lost some of the airplanes there. Guys, if If you want to support the job that I do daily on YouTube, you may do it via Patreon. I'll put the link for my Patreon page right in the video description below. Thank you so much for your kind support. I really enjoyed the Google Maps for today because we have lots of the stuff to discuss. Well, there was one more Ukrainian strike on Kurchatov. Kurchatov is the place where the Russian nuclear power station is located, the Kursk nuclear power plant. Definitely something was burning really hard. There were several of the kabooms reported. But it wasn't the Kursk nuclear power plant. No, Ukraine is not crazy putting the lives of the locals, of civilians, under that huge danger. Plus, nuclear power plant is not really that far away from Ukraine. So what actually was hit was described by the eyewitnesses who live nearby. They reported about the kabooms on the territory of the Russian military base. It's just a quote from the video. By the way, all of those videos, my friends, are available on my Telegram channel, so let me translate you what they say. Well, you see a lot of the soldiers ran out. Maybe they really did have some reserve. Yeah, I translate as hard as I can. Well, yes, it banged really badly. The flames started spreading. Well, 2 fire trucks has arrived, but they can't get there. It's pounding terribly. How can they get there? The terrible story about all of that it was the Russian ammunition warehouse, which is located few hundred meters away from the local buildings where residents live. So Russia tries to put the ammunition warehouses away from the military airfield facilities, for example. Those are usually located far away just not to cause the damage to the airfields, but here they don't care about civilians really. I guess if locals live so close to the warehouse, Russia should move their warehouse somewhere to less populated area. Well, anyways, Russia may use this situation just to condemn Ukraine if some of the locals are hurt, so maybe it's even advantage for the Russian regime. And also we have the report from the Kursk regional authorities that the nuclear power plant wasn't hurt in any way, so it works normally. And now if we check out the military map, you may see that Kurchatov is located not that far away from the front lines. That's why Russia used the shells from the ammunition storage that was hit today to fight against the Ukrainian army in the Kursk region. By the way, if we speak about the Kursk region, there are no good news coming. Russia started to push Ukraine even more for the last day. Our soldiers who are located in the place report about the strong Russian attacks from the west and from the east. I guess that Ukraine has already reached its maximum with the current resources in the Kursk region. There will be no further movement from the Ukrainian side in the coming weeks, that's what I think. But there could be some of the dramatic changes that might happen after 12th of October after the Ramstein meeting, where the NATO members will discuss the permission for Ukraine to use the long-range missiles against the Russian military infrastructure, and potentially there are more than 200 Russian bases, ammunition warehouses, supply storages, which could be demolished by those missiles, so Ukraine may just stop the Russian attacks and take the initiative. But honestly saying, I'm not that optimistic for the Ramstein meeting. I think that Biden may give that approval, but only after elections happen in the United States. Right after elections, Biden still has some of the days, then he will perform the duties as the United States president, so he may leave those restrictions before retiring, and that will include the allowance for Ukraine to use long-range missiles, plus the NATO membership invitation for Ukraine. I think it is absolutely 2 major steps which our allies and especially the United States of America should do. Well, I speak too much about the topic. I'm gonna tell you later why it is so important for Ukraine to be a NATO member, not just for Ukraine actually, but for our allies themselves. Speaking more about Kursk, well, this attack of Ukraine was successful at first, but Russians managed to stop Ukrainian strikes. So after all, they put some of the pontoon bridges. Ukraine wasn't really on time by kicking all of the bridges out there, and Russia moved some of the reinforcements for the place. So I was wrong by the time saying that Russian forces are definitely trapped here. Still, the river is very narrow, and Russians may send their forces. Yes, with the losses, they lost lots of the engineering equipment, their forces, but they continue to push. Again and again, they move really hard. So the idea for Ukrainian counterattack on the Russian counterattack was successful. So the Russian group over here could have been encircled if Ukraine had enough resources, but we have what we have. The Kursk operation was the responsibility, obviously, of Zelensky and Syrsky. It's his solo project, and actually Syrsky convinced convince Zelensky to make this assault on the Russian territory. If this operation finally fails for Ukraine without reaching its major goals, well, in that case, I believe that Syrskyi will resign. And we have the update from the Kursk Oblast that definitely Russians took control over Abuhovka, so they moved for the last couple of days after all. Alright, and let's go to check out the Ukrainian front lines. Here we have everything from Vuhledar to the Pokrovsk direction and Tsyrkene, Kurakhove. So it was the update for today. As you see, Russia moved in many of the points. What is interesting that Russia is using its old strategy by encircling the settlements using clouds, but we see that it works if they have enough resources. So Solidove is their next object, also Kurakhove. Before reaching Kurakhove, they still need to cover those fields, and it's not that easy task for the Russian army. What they might do is to encircle Ukrainian group from Tsyrkene direction. Tsyrkene itself they will take in the coming days, so I'm very concerned about this particular direction. And also Ukraine lost Vuhledar, it's located out there, and Russia continued to move northbound from Vodane. Maybe their goal is to cut this entire region by advancing from this side and also to Kurakhove. So the wider picture with the intentions of the Russian army looks like that. If Russians achieve all of those results in Kurakhove, in Pokrovsk direction, in Torets direction, well, it's just a matter of time then they occupy the entire south part, at least, of the Donetsk Oblast. And the border of the Donetsk Oblast goes like that. Here is mostly unpopulated area, just some of the small villages, that's it. But by taking Pokrovsk, Russia opens the road towards north and also towards west. In this case, they may go to Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, creating the threat for one of the largest Ukrainian cities, Dnipro. Dnipro city is here. You may say that it's quite far away from the front lines, but if we check out the advancement of the Russian army, which is happening right now, I mean their current pace, well, with the current pace, it will take them 2 years to get to that city. Also, what halts the Russian group are those settlements on the north. That's why they're not advancing directly towards them. They attack Ukraine via unpopulated zone. The most important thing for them was to occupy Avdiivka, which is located here, and that town was critical for Ukrainian defense. It was the most robust Ukrainian defense probably out there from all of the Ukrainian front lines. And after that, we may definitely see that Russians broke through the Ukrainian defense in this particular spot. The Ukrainian defense wasn't organized properly to stop the Russian advancement, so one more critical point is now Pokrovsk. It's even more critical compared to Avdiivka because it's the main road hub for supplies, and supplies are damn critical. Ukraine is unable to use Pokrovsk as supply hub any longer because it's very close to the front lines. Russia aims towards the settlement, and during the winter time it could be even more critical because the secondary roads will be unusable. So it really depends now on the Russian command of what they could do after occupying Pokrovsk. I think that Russians will manage to occupy Pokrovsk after all. Judging on the forces they use in the region, it's almost imminent. So the next summer campaign we're gonna see the battle for all of those settlements or the battle for this part, which is Dnipropetrovsk Oblast mainly. Well, if Russia announces a new mobilization, they may gather enough forces to break through Ukrainian defense on the south, and maybe their goal is to take Pokrovsk and go northbound to unpopulated areas, trying to encircle this entire Ukrainian group, and definitely it could be a great threat. What Ukraine can do right now is to prepare for the summer campaign of 2025. For this, Ukraine needs the support from our Western allies. That's why I'm saying that elections in the United States are playing a great role for Ukrainian defense. The terrible thing is what's happening on the front lines, that if Russians capture some of the Ukrainian soldiers, they usually torture them or sometimes even unalive. For the known reason, I do not post those kind of the videos on YouTube and even on my Telegram channel, but I may tell you about it. If you search, you may find those videos easily, and many of those start to appear for the last couple of weeks. At the same time, the news came that the Wagner army again takes part in Ukrainian war. And on this particular video, which I cannot show you, there were Wagner soldiers. They've told on the video that they were grown or educated, let's say, by Prigozhin. And in the name of the Russian Federation, they performed those war crimes. Also, there was the video published around 3 days ago how Russians unalived the group of the Ukrainian prisoners of war. Yes, I understand that it is a war and the war crime might happen from both of the sides, but we see many more of those videos coming from the Russian side. As for the Ukrainian soldiers, I don't remember the last time I saw those kind of the videos, probably it was the last year. You know, the violence sparks violence, so I'm sure that if Ukrainians would capture those particular Russian soldiers who did those massacres, they might do the same. By the way, about the Wagner army, they also presented in Mali. As you know, one of their convoys was ambushed, and just yesterday Russians started to spread the information that Wagner is going to attack the positions of those forces who ambushed them. But it seems that something went wrong. The widely advertised Russian attack failed, as they usually fail in Ukraine with their mid-waves. Well, I will share this video on my Telegram channel. Here I cannot show it openly. Well, the convoy of the Wagner army was ambushed again. How do we know it? Well, those guys, they do not look like the Wagner army at all. I understand that the Wagner army works with a regular army of Mali, or let's say the self-proclaimed power of Mali, but those are not the government forces, so Russian military bloggers are now shocked about this video. Well, hopefully they will give us more information and close perspective videos of the convoy. By the way, guys, did you know that Iran definitely hit the Israeli military base Nevatim? You can see the hangar is damaged. And also there is the trace over here. Well, experts counted like 5 of the holes totally on this military airfield, but I can spot just 2. Maybe I'm partially blind. But the main thing is definitely that hangar was hit. This is the hangar for the airplanes, so at least 2 of the hangars for sure were damaged with ballistic missile. But it seems like this facility wasn't destroyed by fire or something. There was the hit of the missile, definitely, but there are no any traces of the airplane. That's why probably it wasn't really inside, or there is definitely a probability that Israel stored their airplanes there. They'll never tell what is there or what was there. Well, this situation tells that after all, Iranian ballistic missiles are kind of capable if they fly for such a long distance with this kind of the precision. It's better not to underestimate the enemy. Russia, Iran, they're quite capable. They invest lots of the resources into their military. The Russian army now is not what it was in 2022. Then we were all joking about the Russian Ivans wearing the strange uniform. Now the Russian forces are way more capable. It started from the Wagner army, like it was outstanding compared to the regular Russian army, and now the regular Russian army learns on its mistakes. The same goes for Iran, so it's better to take those threats seriously and prepare for them. Well, Israel continued to hit Beirut. As it was reported, the aim for Israel is the brother of Nasrallah, which could potentially be a new leader of the Hezbollah movement. But you know what happened also? Well, Israel hit the Russian military base in Syria. We have the report about it from many of the media sources. They share this kind of the image, and they say that Israel hit the ammunition warehouse of the Russian army. Remember, yesterday I showed you the Russian ammunition which was found in Hezbollah. Well, it's not a secret any longer that Russia definitely supplies their weaponry to the enemy of Israel. And the thing that Israel doesn't really require the permission from the United States to hit the Russian military bases. They may do it on their own. Yeah, we have this meme because of it. Can we bomb Russian bases? No, it can lead to escalation. Israel said, we bombed a Russian base. What the hell is happening? I hope those freaking activists will be jailed. They sabotaged one of the military facilities in the UK, which produces the spare parts for F-35s and drones for Ukraine. Just look at them.
We're here to shut down Teledyne, a place that makes parts for the F-35 engines that are dropping bombs on Gaza and Lebanon. Clear! Clear!
Yes!
Clear!
Disarm manufacturers of fighter jet components and their complicity in an illegal genocide. We're acting to intervene
And uphold international human rights law. This is for being a merchant of death!
Yeah, sorry guys, I couldn't keep my emotions reacting on that. Yeah, with the paint and foam that really disturbed the production of F-35s and the drones for Ukraine. It's very, very terrible that now Israel will obtain a red painted F-35s probably. And those dumpsters do not know what they're doing, basically. They are stupid idiots fed by the Russian propaganda in most of the cases. Or the Iranian propaganda, well, they act in the same way. About the possible response of Israel on Iranians' attack on its facilities, well, Israel, after all, may strike the Iranian oil sites. Biden says that there are some of the discussions with Israel about this possible response. Well, there's good news about it and the bad news. The good news that Iranian economy will obviously suffer without oil. The bad news that the oil prices will just skyrocket and Russia will profit from it. Also, it will lead to the higher gas prices in the United States of America, and Biden absolutely doesn't need it before the elections. Some of the Ukrainian sources mistranslated this article. They said about the joint response from Israel and the United States of America against the oil infrastructure of Iran, but no, here is just Israeli strikes, not the United States. If we speak about the oil prices, the Saudi Arabia has decided to boost the production of oil dramatically. Saudi thinks that the low oil prices will keep the country as the leader in the oil production. In its way, it hurts Russian economy a lot because they are very dependent on oil prices. Mark Rutte visited Kiev today. Just to remind you, he is a new NATO secretary and he is quite positive about the permission for Ukraine to use the long-range missiles. He confirmed that the issue will be discussed in the next Ramstein meeting. And the good news about the Romanian Patriot system, it's been reported that it has been delivered to Ukraine today. And the Patriot system is not just this thing, no, there are many of the launchers, radars and the command center. Alright, and while I'm filming this video, we have the report from the Astra source. This is the Russian opposition media, and they say that the Voronezh oil depot was targeted by some of the drones, and as you may see, the fire was spotted. My friends, I'm gonna keep you updated on everything, and now please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so you help me a lot, and as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.